Before time had a name and space had direction, before atoms danced or stars shimmered in the darkness, there was nothing. No space, no matter, not even silence. And then, in a moment that defies human understanding, everything began. From a singular point, impossibly dense and unfathomably hot, the entire universe burst forth in an event we now call the Big Bang. In this video, we'll take a journey from that first explosion of being all the way to the formation of galaxies, stars, planets, and eventually, us. We'll explore what science knows, and still doesn't, about those first fractions of a second, the early universe's strange rules, and how cosmic evolution sculpted the universe into its current form. So lie back, relax, and let your thoughts drift across billions of years and countless light years as we gently unfold the greatest story ever told. The story of how everything began, the moment everything began. Roughly 13.8 billion years ago, the universe was born in a cataclysmic event unlike anything since. This moment, known as the Big Bang, was not an explosion in space, but rather the rapid expansion of space itself. It was the beginning of all things, not just matter, but time and space, the fabric of reality itself. At the very first moment, the universe was an infinitesimally small point, what scientists call a singularity. Containing all the mass and energy that would ever exist, it was smaller than an atom, yet held within it the seeds of galaxies, stars, and planets. During the first 3 to 4 seconds, the universe underwent a phase known as cosmic inflation. In this mind-bending instant, the universe expanded exponentially, going from subatomic to cosmic in the blink of an eye. This rapid inflation smoothed out the wrinkles and density differences that would later become galaxies and cosmic voids. At around 1 microsecond after the Big Bang, the temperature was so extreme that particles like quarks and gluons, the building blocks of protons and neutrons, formed a quark-gluon plasma, a hot, dense soup of matter. For now, no atoms, no nuclei, no light as we know it, just pure energy converting into the first ingredients of everything. As the universe cooled, quarks began to bind together to form protons and neutrons. This period, known as baryogenesis, was crucial because for every billion antiparticles, there was 1,000,000,001 particle. That tiny imbalance is the reason anything exists at all. Around 1 second after the Big Bang, the weak nuclear force began to govern beta decay, and neutrinos, the ghost particles that zip through your body every second, froze out of the cosmic soup, beginning their eternal journey across space. In the first 3 minutes, temperatures cooled just enough for protons and neutrons to start forming simple atomic nuclei in a process called Big Bang nucleosynthesis. Mostly hydrogen, some helium, and a trace of lithium, this primordial chemistry set would become the foundation of the periodic table. But light still couldn't travel freely. The universe was still a glowing, opaque plasma where photons scattered endlessly among electrons. It would take nearly 380,000 years for things to cool down enough for atoms to form, when electrons finally joined nuclei to create neutral atoms, mostly hydrogen. This event is known as recombination. It was only then that light was free to travel through space. That first light, the cosmic microwave background, still surrounds us today, whispering stories of the infant universe. We can still observe this ancient radiation with satellites, and its subtle ripples tell us about the shape, age, and content of the cosmos. As we drift deeper into this cosmic journey, we'll explore how the universe transitioned from a formless sea of atoms into the grand structure we see today. stars, galaxies, and eventually, life. From darkness to light. After the cosmic microwave background radiation was released, the universe entered a period known as the cosmic dark ages. There were atoms, mostly hydrogen and helium, and there was space. But there were no stars, no galaxies, and no light. The universe had expanded and cooled, but it was still a shadowy, silent place. This darkness lasted for hundreds of millions of years. During this time, gravity slowly worked its quiet magic. The tiny irregularities in the density of matter, leftovers from quantum fluctuations during inflation, acted as the seeds around which matter began to gather. As clouds of hydrogen collapsed under their own gravity, the first stars were born. These were population 3 stars, massive and short-lived, unlike any stars we see today. They burned hotter and brighter than the sun, fusing hydrogen into heavier elements at a furious pace. Their formation ended the Dark Ages and began the epoch of reionization. The intense radiation from these stars ionized the surrounding hydrogen gas, stripping electrons away from atoms once again and making the universe transparent to ultraviolet light. This phase transformed the cosmos and made the night sky shine once more. These first stars lived short, violent lives. Because they were so massive, they quickly exhausted their fuel and exploded as supernovae, seeding the universe with heavier elements like carbon, oxygen, and iron, the building blocks of planets, and eventually, life. The explosive deaths of these stars triggered the formation of new generations of stars. These next stars, smaller and more stable, lived longer. Around them, gravity began to bind stars into clusters and galaxies. The first galaxies were smaller and more chaotic than today's grand spirals and ellipticals, but they marked the beginning of structure in the universe. Over time, galaxies merged and grew. Clusters of galaxies began to form, connected by vast filaments of dark matter and gas. These structures formed what we now call the cosmic web, a vast, three-dimensional tapestry stretching across the universe, made up of galaxy clusters, voids, and filaments that span billions of light years. Meanwhile, dark matter, an invisible form of matter that doesn't emit or absorb light, played a silent but crucial role. It provided the gravitational scaffolding that allowed galaxies to form and hold together. Without dark matter, the stars and gas would have dispersed into the void. Back in our cosmic neighborhood, one of these galaxies was beginning to form a disk. Over billions of years, it would spin and flatten, shaping itself into a beautiful spiral. Its name, given billions of years later by a curious species of primates, would be the Milky Way. Our story, like the stars themselves, was just getting started. The universe had emerged from its darkness and was beginning to light up with the glow of countless suns. But amidst the grandeur of stars and galaxies, something even more rare and precious was brewing: planets and perhaps life. The birth of galaxies and the long march of time. With the universe now lit by stars and structured by the invisible hand of dark matter, galaxies became the new architects of cosmic history. Billions of them, in countless shapes and sizes, populated the universe like islands of light adrift in a dark, expanding ocean. These early galaxies were nothing like the grand spirals we see in modern telescopes. They were chaotic, clumpy, and rapidly forming stars. Star formation was a frantic process, with bursts of activity that lit up regions of space like fireworks in the night. As these galaxies collided and merged, they became larger and more complex, gradually maturing into the elegant systems we see today. Among these was a galaxy that would one day become very important to us, the Milky Way. It formed through mergers with smaller galaxies, each collision triggering waves of star formation. Over billions of years, it grew into a vast spiral galaxy with arms of stars stretching outward in graceful curves. At its heart, a supermassive black hole spun silently, its immense gravity anchoring the galaxy's core. Meanwhile, stars continued to forge elements in their cores, transforming hydrogen into helium, then into carbon, oxygen, and heavier atoms. When they died, many exploded in brilliant supernovae, scattering these elements into space. This stellar debris enriched the clouds of gas that would form new stars, creating generations of suns richer in the ingredients for planets, and eventually, life. In one corner of the Milky Way, a small star formed. It was modest, not too big, not too small. It would live for billions of years, giving off steady light and warmth. Around it formed a system of planets born from the same disk, of gas and dust. One of these planets, in a delicate balance between distance and warmth, had oceans, an atmosphere, and eventually, the right conditions for life. But this part of the story was still far in the future. For now, the universe was a place of majestic scale and slow transformation. Galaxies danced and collided in a slow waltz that spanned eons. Black holes devoured stars, and quasars, powered by these insatiable beasts, shone like beacons across the cosmos, outshining entire galaxies for brief moments in cosmic time. The expansion of the universe continued, stretching the fabric of space itself. Galaxies moved farther apart, and the light from distant stars redshifted, stretched into longer wavelengths by the growing space between us and them. This redshift became one of our best tools to measure the age and size of the universe, a cosmic clock ticking backward to the Big Bang. Over time, the rate of star formation slowed. Galaxies settled down, maturing into their final forms. Ellipticals formed through collisions. Spirals like the Milky Way stabilized into swirling disks, and dwarf galaxies hovered around larger ones like satellites. The universe cooled ever more, its glow dimming as fewer new stars were born. Yet the light from ancient stars continued to travel across the universe, carrying with it the story of its origin like echoes from a cosmic memory. By now, the elements forged in stars had begun to spread widely. The building blocks of life, carbon, nitrogen, oxygen, iron, floated in interstellar clouds, ready to form planets, oceans, and eventually, cells. It would take billions more years, but the seeds were sown, and all along, the universe continued to expand. Not just in space, but in complexity, from simple hydrogen atoms to vast galaxies, from darkness to light, from nothing to everything. Even though the age of galaxies and stars had begun, it was only the middle chapter in a much longer tale. A tale that would soon turn toward a pale blue planet, an evolving biosphere, and creatures who would one day look up at the stars and ask, where did it all begin? The heavy elements and the building of worlds. As the early galaxies matured and the universe moved from chaotic infancy into a more structured adolescence, the story of creation entered a quieter yet crucial phase. The cosmic fireworks of the first stars gave way to a more patient artistry, one where the elements forged in stellar hearts began to gather, combine, and form the solid material of future worlds. This was the era of enrichment, Each star that lived and died left behind a legacy, not just light and heat, but matter. The very atoms that make up your bones and blood were once the glowing heart of a star. When massive stars collapsed and exploded in supernovae, they hurled heavier elements into the void, adding carbon, nitrogen, iron, and even gold to the galactic medium. Over billions of years, this enriched material began to coalesce into vast clouds of gas and dust, nebulae, the nurseries of new stars. Within these clouds, gravity quietly worked, pulling particles together. As density increased, heat did too, and new stars were born. Around many of these stars, disks of debris spun outward, leftover remnants from their birth. These swirling disks became the cradles of planetary formation, tiny grains of dust stuck together through electrostatic forces, gradually growing into larger and larger clumps. Over time, these clumps became planetesimals, and later, protoplanets. Through countless collisions and gravitational dances, they evolved into fully formed planets, some rocky and dense, others gaseous and vast. These processes didn't happen quickly. It took tens of millions of years for a star system to settle. For every Earth-like world that emerged, many others were swallowed by their stars or flung into the cold dark between systems. But the seeds of planetary systems were sown across the galaxy, including one small corner of a galaxy that would come to be called the Milky Way. In this galaxy, about 9 billion years after the Big Bang, a relatively small star ignited. It was not one of the first, nor particularly unique, but it was stable, long-lived, and rich in the heavy elements produced by generations of stars before it. Around this star spun a new protoplanetary disk, and from that disk formed at least 8 planets. The third planet from this star had just the right conditions: temperature, distance, size, atmosphere. It wasn't too hot, nor too cold. It had liquid water, a magnetic field, and the makings of something extraordinary. On this planet, chemistry became biology, but that chapter is still ahead of us. For now, the universe was still quietly expanding, stars still burning steadily across time, and galaxies continuing their slow, silent revolutions. Every night sky we've ever looked up at is a canvas painted by the processes that began here. Every twinkling star is part of a lineage stretching back to that first explosion, to the formless chaos that birthed space and time. The oldest stars still shine in our galaxy today. Some of them may have watched the birth of the Milky Way itself. Others, like our sun, are middle-aged, still bright, still warm, still capable of nurturing worlds. The universe, by now, had become a stage. The players were in position: stars, galaxies, elements, planets. What remained was the spark, the inexplicable emergence of life, awareness, and curiosity. And on one small, pale blue dot, in the quiet spiral arms of an unremarkable galaxy, that spark would soon be lit. Before that flame ignited, though, the cosmos had one more gift to give: time. Billions of years of it. Enough time for worlds to cool, for oceans to form, for molecules to bump and bind in the warmth of young seas. Enough time for life to make its first uncertain steps, and eventually, far in the future, for minds to look back across that time and wonder how it all began. The spark of life in a vast cosmos. On a small rocky planet orbiting an ordinary star in a nondescript part of the Milky Way galaxy, something extraordinary happened. At first, it was imperceptible, a rearrangement of atoms, a self-sustaining cycle, a molecule that could make copies of itself. But this tiny, quiet event marked the beginning of a new chapter in the story of the universe, the emergence of life. Earth, as it would come to be called, formed approximately 4.5 billion years ago. It was born from the remnants of ancient stars. Its iron core, its silicate crust, and even the water in its oceans were all forged in stellar furnaces long before our sun was born. For hundreds of millions of years, the young Earth was a hostile place, bombarded by asteroids, shrouded in volcanic gases, and lit by a sun still in its infancy. But within the chaos, conditions slowly stabilized. Water collected in basins to form oceans. The crust cooled. The atmosphere thickened. And somewhere in the warmth of those early oceans, the right ingredients came together. Scientists don't yet know exactly how life began, whether it sparked in deep-sea hydrothermal vents, in shallow pools struck by lightning, or carried by icy comets from faraway worlds. But what we do know is this. Sometime between 4.1 and 3.8 billion years ago, life emerged. Simple, single-celled organisms began replicating, adapting, and evolving. For billions of years, life remained microscopic. Bacteria and archaea dominated the planet, shaping its atmosphere, breaking down minerals, and eventually inventing photosynthesis. This innovation, capturing sunlight to make food, changed everything. It filled the atmosphere with oxygen, a gas that was toxic to many early life forms, but would eventually fuel more complex organisms. The oxygenation of Earth's atmosphere, known as the Great Oxidation Event, took place over hundreds of millions of years. It was slow, relentless, and transformative. The sky turned blue, the oceans teemed with microbial life, and the stage was set for complexity. Around 2 billion years ago, a revolution occurred within the microscopic world. Some cells absorbed others, forming eukaryotic cells, cells with nuclei and organelles, more structured and more powerful. These new cells became the ancestors of plants, fungi, and animals. The foundation of multicellular life was laid. Still, the universe remained indifferent. While stars burned and galaxies drifted, Earth was undergoing slow biological transformations. It wasn't until about 600 million years ago that multicellular organisms became abundant. In the Cambrian explosion, life diversified rapidly into myriad forms, creatures with shells, eyes, limbs, and nerves. Plants colonized the land. Arthropods scuttled across primitive soils. Fish swam through coral reefs. And then, around 375 million years ago, some fish began to crawl onto land, taking their first breath of air. Amphibians led to reptiles. Reptiles led to mammals. And mammals, after millions of years of evolution, led to us. But even as life flourished on Earth, the cosmos beyond remained vast and mysterious. Most of the universe was still cold, empty, and silent. The stars in the sky seemed eternal and unchanging. But they too were evolving. Some were nearing the end of their lives, preparing to collapse into white dwarfs or explode as supernovae. Others had long since faded away, their light traveling endlessly across space. Back on Earth, one species, curious, upright, and social, began to look up at those stars and wonder. What were they? Where did they come from? And what did it all mean? That species, of course, was us. humans. We emerged just a few 100,000 years ago, a blink in cosmic time. Yet we carried within us the atoms of ancient stars, the instincts of ancient organisms, and the capacity to reflect on it all. Our brains, the most complex objects known in the universe, allowed us to invent language, build cities, explore space, and tell stories like the one you're hearing now. The journey from the Big Bang to the rise of human consciousness is not just a scientific tale, it's a poetic one. It connects the infinite with the intimate. It reminds us that the universe is not separate from us. We are a part of it. We are its children. And as the universe expands and cools, it carries our story with it. A story that began in fire, flourished in oceans, and now thinks in starlight. Consciousness, curiosity, and the cosmic mirror. From the dust of stars and the rhythms of molecules, life emerged on Earth. And over billions of years, it changed, adapted, and reached upward. From the smallest bacteria to forests stretching toward the sky, to animals that ran, climbed, and swam. But the story took an extraordinary turn with the rise of consciousness. Our lineage, Homo sapiens, arrived late in Earth's timeline, just over 300,000 years ago. Yet even before us, our ancestors had begun shaping the world around them. They made tools, lit fires, hunted in groups, and painted stories on cave walls. These weren't just survival skills. They were expressions of awareness, the beginnings of thought, of memory, of wonder. Human consciousness didn't appear all at once. It was a gradual, delicate unfolding, shaped by the environment, by chance, and by time. But once it bloomed, it lit up the world. We began to ask questions. Why do the stars move? What lies beyond the horizon? Who are we? With time, we named the stars. We built stories around them. We saw gods in the thunder and patterns in the heavens. Astronomy was born not just from science, but from myth, from longing. Ancient peoples tracked the motion of the sun, built calendars, aligned temples with solstices, and carved meaning into the night sky. And all the while, the universe kept expanding, indifferent, yet beautiful. Humans began to domesticate fire, then crops, then animals. Villages became cities. Cities became civilizations. With writing, we remembered our discoveries and passed them on. With philosophy, we questioned existence itself. And with science, we began to glimpse the truth. The Earth, once thought to be the center of everything, was revealed to be just one planet, orbiting one star in a vast sea of stars. That star, our sun, was just one among hundreds of billions in the Milky Way. And the Milky Way itself was just one of trillions of galaxies. This shift, this recentering of perspective, was humbling, but it was also profound. It showed us that the universe was not made for us, yet somehow we were made from it. By the 20th century, human understanding had expanded farther than ever before. Telescopes peered deep into the cosmos. Equations described the curvature of space and the birth of time. Quantum mechanics revealed a world of probabilities and particles, strange and counterintuitive. And in 1929, Edwin Hubble discovered that the universe was expanding, that galaxies were moving away from us, and the farther they were, the faster they fled. This discovery pointed back to a beginning, a moment when all matter and energy were compressed into an unimaginably small, hot, and dense state. The Big Bang. Suddenly, everything had a timeline. The universe had a birth, and perhaps one day it would have an end. But this wasn't the end of our wonder. It was just the beginning. The story of the cosmos wasn't just written in the stars, it was written in us. the iron in your blood, the calcium in your bones, the oxygen you breathe, all forged in ancient stars that died to give you life. In every sense, we are not merely observers of the universe. We are part of it. We are a way for the cosmos to know itself. This realization gives rise to awe, to reverence, to a quiet cosmic humility. We are small, yes, infinitesimal compared to the grand scale of the universe, but we are also rare, aware, capable of beauty, cruelty, creativity, and love. We have built machines that orbit other planets. We have sent probes beyond the solar system. We have listened to the echoes of the Big Bang and mapped the invisible forces that shape galaxies. And still, we wonder, what came before the Big Bang? Are we alone in the universe? What is consciousness? What is the fate of everything? These questions echo through our literature, our dreams, our equations. They bind us together, not just as a species, but as participants in a shared mystery. And as we continue to explore, to ask, to imagine, the universe itself watches in silence, offering no answers, only endless depth. It's as if the cosmos is a mirror, reflecting not just stars and galaxies, but our deepest selves, our fears, our hopes, our hunger for meaning. In that reflection, we glimpse something sacred, not in a religious sense, but in a timeless one. The sacredness of existence, the beauty of being, the privilege of knowing even a small part of the story. We, the children of stars, the storytellers of atoms, are now the only species we know of that can trace its lineage from quarks and light to thought and language. That awareness is fragile, precious, and if we're wise, unifying. For in all the vastness of space, amid all the galaxies and all the worlds yet unseen, we share this one moment, this one history, this one home, and still the universe expands. Echoes through time. In the grand stillness of the universe, time is the true river. Flowing without pause, it carries all things forward. Stars, galaxies, atoms, civilizations. And caught in its current is our own brief, flickering awareness. Compared to the eons that preceded us, human history is a blink, a soft whisper on the vast pages of cosmic time. Yet within that whisper lies something astonishing, the capacity to remember, to imagine, to wonder. In our thoughts, time folds back on itself. We recall what once was. We dream of what could be. And in doing so, we bring depth to the otherwise indifferent flow of the cosmos. Our ancestors, long before they charted the heavens or etched symbols into stone, felt this depth instinctively. They watched the moon wax and wane, the seasons shift, the stars rise and fall in rhythm. Without telescopes, without theory, they understood that time was not a straight line, but a rhythm, a cycle, a song. They buried their dead with care. They painted animals on cave walls, not just to depict, but perhaps to remember, to celebrate, to commune with something beyond the moment. These early acts of art and ritual were not just cultural, they were cosmic. In them, early humans began to position themselves within a universe they could not yet explain, but deeply felt. As millennia passed and societies rose, that feeling evolved into language, into myth, into science. We learned to measure the passage of time with shadows and sand, with gears and pendulums, and eventually, with the vibrations of atoms. We discovered that the Earth was not flat nor central, but spinning and orbiting, moving through a universe far larger and older than we had ever imagined. Each discovery stripped away layers of comfort, but revealed greater and greater beauty. The more we learned, the more the universe stretched, both in space and meaning. Yet for all our knowledge, we remain grounded in mystery. We know, for instance, that space is expanding, that galaxies recede from one another with a silent, accelerating grace. We know that time itself began at the Big Bang, and that the universe, now billions of years old, is cooling and drifting toward a distant future. And yet, what lies beyond our observable horizon remains unknown. The edge of our knowledge is not a wall, but a fog, thick with questions, trembling with possibility. In the midst of this unknown, we ask ourselves not just what the universe is, but what it means. Is there meaning in a universe that operates according to impersonal laws? Or is it we who bring meaning to it by asking the question at all? The cosmos does not speak. It offers no answers, no judgments, no reassurances. And yet, we listen. We reach. And in doing so, we create a dialogue, a one-sided, earnest, and deeply human conversation with the infinite. This dialogue is not always rational. It is often emotional, poetic, even spiritual. To gaze up at the night sky and feel small is to understand our scale. To gaze up and feel connected is to grasp our origin. And to gaze up and feel awe is to sense that even in our tiny corner of a vast and ancient universe, something miraculous has occurred. The universe has become conscious of itself. Because of us, the cosmos now contemplates. Through the lens of our eyes, galaxies are not just distant, they are beautiful. Through the sensitivity of our instruments, the cosmic microwave background is not just static, it is memory. Through our science and our storytelling, the Big Bang is not just an origin, it is a beginning worthy of reflection, of reverence, of awe. And yet, this awareness comes with weight. For every moment of wonder, there is one of fragility. Our world, so lush and teeming with life, is but a pale dot suspended in a shaft of sunlight. The same laws that forged it could, in time, unravel it. The same intelligence that mapped the stars has also carved scars into its own home. To be aware is to be responsible. But perhaps that is the gift, the burden and blessing of consciousness. Not merely to know the universe, but to care for it. To recognize our fleeting place within it, and to fill that place with kindness, with creativity, with a voice that whispers back to the stars, "We were here, we saw, we loved." So as we drift ever onward, carried by time's relentless river, let us not forget that every atom in our bodies once danced in the heart of a star, that every thought we think is made possible by the cooling fire of a universe that once burned too hot to allow even light. We are not visitors here. We are the product of this place, the echo of the Big Bang, not just in space, but in mind, in memory, in meaning. And still, the stars shine above us. The universe, for all its grandeur, is not static. It is not a painting hung in the dark void, but a living, changing thing. From the moment of the Big Bang, it has been, growing, stretching the very fabric of space-time in every direction. Galaxies that once nestled close now drift apart. Light that once crossed the cosmos in moments now stretches into longer and longer wavelengths, a red-shifting echo of an ever-expanding home. And so we ask, if the universe had a beginning, will it also have an end? This question has haunted cosmologists for decades. The future of the universe depends on the balance between expansion and gravity, between motion and mass, between what is pushing the cosmos outward and what is trying to pull it back together. For much of the 20th century, scientists debated whether the universe would expand forever, slowly freezing into stillness, or collapse back upon itself in a great reversal, a big crunch. For a time, it seemed the scales might be perfectly balanced, teetering on the edge of eternal motion and eventual return. But in the late 1990s, something astonishing was discovered. By observing distant supernovae, exploding stars in galaxies billions of light years away, astronomers expected to see evidence that the expansion of the universe was slowing down. Instead, they saw the opposite. The expansion was speeding up. The universe wasn't just growing, it was accelerating. This revelation pointed to the existence of something previously unknown and invisible, something that made up the vast majority of the cosmos. It was named, almost reluctantly, dark energy, a mysterious force that pushes space apart with ever-increasing speed. Today, we estimate that dark energy accounts for about 68% of all the energy in the universe. Dark matter makes up another 27%. The ordinary matter, the stars, the planets, the galaxies, and everything we've ever touched or seen, makes up less than 5%. This understanding transformed our view of the cosmos. The universe is not just expanding, it is becoming emptier. Galaxies beyond our local group are accelerating away from us. Given enough time, they will move so far and so fast that their light will never reach us again. In 100 billion years, the night sky may appear empty to any future observers. The grand narrative of cosmic history will fade into silence. This projected future is known as the heat death or big freeze. It is not a dramatic collapse, nor a fiery end. It is a slow and inexorable dwindling. As stars exhaust their fuel and fade into white dwarfs, then black dwarfs, as galaxies drift further apart, and black holes slowly evaporate through Hawking radiation, the universe cools and empties. Eventually, it may become a vast, dark sea of subatomic particles, barely above absolute zero, drifting through an ocean of ever-stretching space. But this is only one possibility. Some physicists speculate that dark energy might not remain constant. It could increase in strength, leading to a big rip, where even atoms are torn apart by the accelerating expansion. Or it could decay entirely, leading to a new cosmic phase, or even a cycle of new universes born from the ashes of the old. Others entertain the possibility of multiverses, where our universe is just one bubble among countless others, each with its own laws, constants, and timelines. Regardless of how the universe ends, whether in ice, fire, or something stranger, what remains is a sense of awe, that we are able to ask such questions, that we, a collection of molecules on a tiny planet, have peered into the ancient past, measured the cosmic microwave background, discovered the accelerating expansion, and imagined futures that stretch into the trillions of years. And what of us in this cosmic future? Our species is young, our history is barely a flicker. Whether we persist for millennia or vanish tomorrow, we are part of something far greater. For as long as we wonder, the universe lives through us. And perhaps that is the deeper truth. The universe may expand forever. It may cool into nothingness. But as long as consciousness exists, wherever and however it appears, the story of the cosmos continues. Each sentient being, every flicker of thought, adds a verse to the ongoing poem of existence. We are not just watching the universe unfold. We are the universe, briefly awakened. We are its memory, its question, its echo. And somewhere, across the cold distances, a star is being born. Somewhere else, a star is dying. And somewhere in between, you are listening to the quiet hum of time, the whisper of starlight, the slow and sacred rhythm of everything. As the universe continues its expansion, we begin to enter what scientists poetically call the degenerate era, a time unimaginably far from now, when the cosmos has passed through its most luminous age and begins its long descent into darkness. This era will unfold over trillions, quadrillions, and even longer scales of time, dwarfing the already ancient history of stars and galaxies. It is a time when the universe will begin to forget the light. Long after the last new stars have been born, the ones still burning will dwindle away, one by one. The small, dim red dwarfs, the most numerous stars in the cosmos, will be the last to die, shining for trillions of years before finally exhausting their hydrogen fuel. As they fade into white dwarfs and then into cold black dwarfs, the universe will become a place where starlight no longer reaches across space. The cosmic stage, once ablaze with light, will be lit only by the occasional flicker of a dying ember. Without stars, the energy that drives life as we know it will vanish. The galaxies will become ghostly swirls of dark matter and dead stars, silent and ancient. Planets, if they remain, will wander in darkness, long since frozen. Even black holes, once thought eternal, will begin to die, not with a bang, but with a whisper, slowly evaporating through Hawking radiation. Over unimaginable spans of time, they too will fade, leaving behind only a trace of their existence. And then, when the last particle decays, when the last flicker of radiation fades into the background, the universe may enter its final phase, what some call the dark era. No stars, no light, no structure, just a near-perfect vacuum, filled only with the thin mist of radiation and the occasional scattered particle. A cosmos without memory, a cosmos without motion. To contemplate this future is to confront the full breadth of cosmic time. It is to realize that everything we know, all the history of Earth, of life, of human thought, has taken place in the blink of an eye compared to what lies ahead. We are living not at the end, but at the very beginning of the story, in a universe that may last for untold trillions of years. We are among the first to look around, to wonder, to try to understand. And yet, in that perspective, there is a strange kind of comfort. Because we have existed at all, because we've had this brief moment, bathed in starlight, to ask questions and seek meaning, because out of the cold laws of physics, something warm and aware has arisen. We are not an afterthought of the cosmos, we are its awakening. Perhaps then, the true miracle is not the Big Bang, nor the stars, nor the endless future stretching out before us. Perhaps the miracle is now, this fleeting window where stars still shine, where planets still turn, where consciousness blooms in quiet corners of the universe. We are living in the golden twilight of creation, and that gives this moment a weight beyond measure. So let us not fear the silence to come, nor the dark. Let us instead cherish the fact that we were here when the stars were young, that we walked among the light, that we listened to the heartbeat of the cosmos and found it beautiful. And long after we are gone, the universe will carry our trace, in the echo of our radio waves drifting through space, in the elements we forged, in the ideas we gave birth to. Even in the dark, the story we began may ripple forward, waiting to be heard again. It is a strange and poignant truth that we are living in what cosmologists often call the stelliferous era, the age of stars. This golden window, this fraction of cosmic history, is the only time when the night sky glows with suns, when galaxies dance in spirals of light, and when life, at least on Earth, thrives in the warmth of a star. We exist in the brief interlude between creation and quietude, between the Big Bang and the deep freeze. This era is rare. Most of the universe's history lies not in this luminous slice, but in what came before and what will come after. Before stars, there was darkness, pure hydrogen and helium adrift in a cooling void. After stars, there will be silence, as gravity and thermodynamics render everything inert. But for now, in this middle chapter, there is light, there is warmth, there is life. And that makes this time sacred, not in a religious sense, but in a cosmic one. It is a window of perception when the universe can reflect upon itself, when minds can question the past and predict the future, when beings like us, made from dust and fire, can sit beneath the stars and imagine what came before, what lies beyond, and what awaits. If the universe is a book, then we are the readers who arrived at just the right page. Too early, and we would find only darkness, only the formless silence of unstructured space. Too late, and the pages would be blank, the lights gone out, the letters erased by time. But here we are, in the chapter where light abounds and thought is possible, in the age when questions can be asked, and ask we have, about the beginning, about the end, about our place in this vastness. We have built machines to touch the edge of our solar system, to peer into the earliest moments of time, to simulate the dying breaths of stars. We have learned the language of the cosmos, math and physics, light and gravity, and we've used it not only to understand, but to wonder, to feel. For the story of the universe is not cold. It is not merely equations and entropy. It is also poetry. The fact that atoms, formed in the cores of stars, could come together in the form of a brain, capable of self-awareness, of empathy, of grief and joy, that is a miracle no formula can fully describe. And so we are left with a paradox. The universe will end. Everything we see will fade. And yet, in this brief window, we have found meaning, not given by the stars, but created by us. Meaning in love, in discovery, in beauty, in the fragile, fleeting experience of being alive. Even as we stare into the cold mathematics of the future, even as we watch galaxies drift away and stars wink out one by one, there is a defiant warmth in us, a refusal to be meaningless, a choice to leave behind stories, music, ideas, to tell the universe that we were here and that it mattered. And so, in the shadow of eternity, let us not despair. Let us marvel. Let us hold each other a little closer, knowing that this moment, this tiny golden flicker, is more precious than we can possibly comprehend. The stars are not forever, but for now, they shine, and so do we. Memory in the darkness. The inevitability of cosmic darkness does not diminish the light. In fact, it heightens its beauty. Just as the stars are most brilliant against the night sky, so too does meaning gleam brightest when held against the backdrop of a finite universe. And perhaps it is precisely because everything must end that our story becomes sacred. In the future, long after Earth has cooled, and the sun has burned through its hydrogen, this planet will be a memory, if not held by minds, then held by time. The rocks will still bear traces of what lived here. The elements will still carry echoes of life's brief flame, and perhaps, floating through space, fragments of us, golden records, abandoned satellites, buried data, will endure, waiting to be found by eyes not yet evolved. But even if they are never found, even if all record is erased, there is dignity in what we have already done, in the quiet courage of becoming aware in a universe that owes us nothing, in choosing to reach outward and inward, in making art, in asking questions, in loving without reason beyond the joy of connection. We often imagine legacy as permanence, a monument that will never fall, a book that will always be read, a name that will never be forgotten. But in the context of the universe, nothing is permanent. Everything is change. Galaxies dissolve, atoms scatter. Even the fabric of space stretches toward obscurity. And so, legacy becomes something else. Not a structure, but a moment, a ripple, a kindness offered, a truth discovered, a breath of awe shared beneath a sky of stars. These are not things that last forever, but they matter now, and now is the only place where meaning lives. Still, it is hard not to long for more, for survival, for continuity. The idea that somehow something of us might endure, and perhaps it will. Perhaps future life, on this planet or others, will trace their lineage back to us. Perhaps they will read our histories, sing our songs, or wonder what we believed in. Or perhaps they will not. Perhaps they will exist wholly apart, never knowing our names, but still carrying forward the spark of awareness that we once nurtured. In this way, the universe itself may be the archive, not in dusty libraries, but in its atoms, its waves, its paths. Every action we take, every change we make, is written into the physics of the world. Nothing is ever truly lost. It is only transformed. And so, in this moment, our moment, we hold the extraordinary weight and wonder of being alive in a universe that does not need us, but contains us nonetheless. We are not here to conquer the stars, nor to escape the earth, but to understand, to feel, to bear witness. To be human is to be a witness to beauty that came before us, and to echo that beauty forward, however briefly. We are not just here to survive. We are here to remember, to carry the memory of stars within us, and to reflect their light in how we live, how we dream, how we love. For now, the stars still shine. For now, the night sky still glows. And for now, our voices rise into the silence. Let that be enough. Amid the grandeur of galaxies and the relentless march of time, the most mysterious phenomenon to emerge from the chaos of the Big Bang is not black holes or quasars, but something far subtler, more elusive: life, and even more enigmatic: consciousness, somehow, from clouds of dust, from the cooling remnants of stars, molecules assembled into systems that could sense, react, adapt. And somewhere along the line, those systems began to dream. The emergence of life from non-living matter, what we call abiogenesis, is one of the great mysteries still unsolved. Did it happen only here, on this fragile world, orbiting an average star? Or is it common across the universe, seeded by the same laws of chemistry that gave rise to us? We do not yet know. But what we do know is this: life, once it begins, does not stay still. It evolves, it changes, it diversifies. Over time, it becomes more complex, more resilient, more self-aware. Consciousness was not inevitable. It is not a requirement for stars to burn or planets to orbit, but it happened. And when it did, the universe was no longer a silent dance of matter and energy. It became a story, a subject, a reflection. Think about what it means that the universe has become conscious of itself. Through the flickering neurons of a brain, through the quiet thoughts of a solitary mind, the universe looks inward. It examines its own birth, its history, its laws. It wonders about its fate. In us, in all thinking beings, the cosmos has found a mirror. And yet, with this gift comes the ache of knowing. To be conscious is to carry both awe and sorrow, to understand beauty and to realize that beauty fades, to grasp our place in the vastness and to feel the weight of our smallness. In this duality, this tension between joy and impermanence, meaning is born. Meaning, in a cosmic sense, is not something handed to us. It is not encoded in the stars or written in the light of galaxies. It is made, constructed moment by moment, in the quiet choices we make, in how we care for one another, in how we explore, create, and share, in how we face the dark with open eyes and open hearts. And in many ways, that impermanence, the fact that we and everything we love will one day be gone, is not a reason for despair. It is the very reason to live fully, to love deeply, to make beauty not because it will last forever, but because it exists now. Imagine a flower blooming in a desert, unseen by any eye. Is its beauty diminished by its ephemerality? No. Its brief moment is its triumph, and so it is with us. Our consciousness is not less valuable because it is temporary. It is valuable because it is rare, because it emerged from a universe of chaos and silence, because it sings, however softly, in a universe not built to sing. We often ask what the purpose of life is in a universe destined for decay, but perhaps that is the wrong question. Perhaps the better question is, how can we create purpose in a universe that allows it? We are here, briefly, impossibly, magnificently, and while we are here, we can choose to shape our little corner of existence with compassion, curiosity, and wonder. We can choose to learn, to build, to imagine. We can choose to make meaning, not because the universe demands it, but because we can. In the silence of the cosmos, we are the music. In the stillness of space, we are the motion. In the indifference of physics, we are the feeling. And that perhaps is the most profound truth of all. As stars burn and die, as galaxies drift and fade, as time moves ever forward, we remain for now. Not just as witnesses, but as participants. Not just as observers, but as creators. And long after our brief moment has passed, the universe will carry the imprint of our existence. Maybe not in stone, maybe not in data, but in the fact that we were here, that awareness bloomed, that love existed. We are stardust made conscious, and while we shine, we must shine brightly. When we reflect on the magnitude of the cosmos, the towering scales of space and time, the galactic swirls that stretch across billions of light years, it's easy to feel small. And we are. A single human life is a flicker, a momentary ripple in a sea without shore. Yet, it is precisely this contrast that makes our experience so precious. Fragility, after all, is the hallmark of beauty. No star feels awe. No galaxy dreams. The rings of Saturn do not contemplate their elegance. The black holes at the centers of galaxies do not marvel at their own power. But you can. You do. And that is what elevates your place in the universe, not your size, not your duration, but your capacity to feel, to wonder, to reach beyond yourself. We often talk about survival as a species, as civilizations, as individuals. But beyond the instinct to continue, there lies something deeper. The urge not just to live, but to understand, to express, to connect. These are the quiet glories of consciousness. They are what turn life into living. In our short span, we build cathedrals, write poetry, craft symphonies, design spacecraft, whisper lullabies. We love, we grieve, we laugh, we remember. We pass on stories. We trace the arc of stars with our fingers and call it mythology. We launch probes into the void and send with them songs, drawings, greetings, tiny envelopes of hope hurled into eternity. And even if no one ever receives them, even if those probes drift forever through the silence, their launch mattered. Because it speaks to something elemental in us. A refusal to be confined by what we know. A yearning to reach, even if the reach exceeds our grasp. This yearning defines the human spirit. It is what carried us across oceans and through revolutions. It is what turned cave walls into storybooks and dreams into machines that soar. And it is what compels us to look up at the night sky and feel, deep within our bones, that we are part of something vast. The universe may not offer us answers, but it offers us itself. It lays before us an open canvas, a mystery not to be solved, but to be lived, to be wondered about, to be sung. So in your quiet moments, when the weight of it all feels too heavy, remember, you are not separate from the stars. You are their descendant. You are their voice. And that voice matters, not because it is loud, but because it speaks at all. To exist is an honor. To be aware is a miracle. And to care, to truly care, in a universe that does not require it, is a triumph beyond measure. The stars were always there, long before us, long before life, long before even the earth itself took form. They burned quietly in the darkness, shedding light across time and space, indifferent to observation, unknowing of wonder. And yet, at some point, one species came along that saw them, not just as lights, but as questions. That species gave them names, drew lines between them, told stories in their patterns. For the first time, the stars were not alone. This act of seeing and interpreting is not trivial. It is the root of something profoundly human. To observe the world and not merely exist in it, but reflect on it. To turn experience into story and story into meaning. This is the power of imagination. To go beyond what is and reach toward what could be. Imagination is what allowed us to build civilizations, to craft myths, to discover gravity and genetics, to envision other worlds, not just as unreachable pinpoints of light, but as destinations. It is what transforms raw awareness into vision. It lifts us beyond instinct and into the realm of possibility. But alongside imagination walks another human miracle: empathy. The ability to feel what another feels, to connect, to care, to see the self in the other. Empathy is what binds us. It is what turns communities into cultures, families into sanctuaries, strangers into friends. It is what allows us to look at another being, human or otherwise, and recognize not just difference, but common ground. And when imagination and empathy work together, they become transcendent. They are what drive us to tell stories about people we've never met. To care about futures we may never see. To protect animals, forests, oceans, not for profit, but for their own sake. to build shelters, to write songs, to teach, to heal, to reach across space and say, "You are not alone." In this sense, we become more than just a species that evolved on a blue planet. We become stewards of beauty, curators of meaning, messengers of light. This is the paradox of being human in a universe so vast and uncaring. On the one hand, we are fragile, brief, subject to forces we cannot control. But on the other, we are fierce in our determination to matter. We fight entropy not just with technology, but with tenderness, with purpose. With each sunrise we celebrate, each injustice we challenge, each dream we dare to share. And what of fear, of grief? These two are signs of our capacity. Fear shows we value life. Grief shows we have loved. They are not weaknesses. They are testaments to our depth. In a universe that will not mourn us, we mourn one another. In a cosmos that offers no guarantees, we promise anyway. Even now, with all we know of physics, of stars, of cells, we remain full of questions. What is consciousness? Will we ever travel to other worlds? Are we alone in this cosmic silence? These questions are not failures of understanding. They are signs of vitality. They mean we are still reaching, still wondering, still awake. And maybe, just maybe, that is what the universe has always needed. Not answers, but questions. Not certainty, but wonder. Not control, but compassion. Perhaps the cosmos is not incomplete without us, but with us, it is aware. With us, it sings. So, as you move through the ordinary days of your life, walking streets, folding laundry, speaking softly to someone you love, remember the scale of what you're part of, and also the scale of what you carry inside you. You are vast, you are starlight, given voice. You are temporary, yes, but not meaningless. In you, the story continues. We often speak of the universe as something out there, a distant vastness full of galaxies and dark energy, of black holes and cosmic radiation. But there is another universe, equally mysterious, equally grand, and just as full of uncharted territory. It is the universe within. Each mind, each consciousness, is its own cosmos. Within you are billions of neurons firing in complex harmony, networks forming and dissolving in real time, weaving the fabric of your thoughts, memories, dreams, and identity. This inner landscape is invisible to the telescopes we aim at the sky, yet it is the only place the outer universe is ever truly known. In the silence of your thoughts, galaxies rise. In your memory, stars are born again. And in your hopes, new worlds are imagined. This inner universe does not exist apart from the cosmic one. It is its product. Your ability to feel joy, to recall a melody, to wonder what someone else is thinking. These are not supernatural phenomena. They are miracles of physics, chemistry, and biology, evolved over billions of years of cosmic history. The hydrogen that burns in the stars is the same hydrogen that fills your veins. The elements forged in ancient supernovae beat now within your heart. The same gravity that shapes galaxies grounds you. The same light that escapes black holes illuminates your skin. The universe does not merely surround you, it composes you. And this understanding brings with it a quiet revolution. It softens the divide between the personal and the cosmic, between the everyday and the eternal. It means that love is not a distraction from the universe's grand processes. It is one of their most beautiful outcomes. That compassion, art, laughter, and grief are not insignificant on a cosmic scale. They are the universe becoming sensitive, aware, expressive. You are not a speck lost in space. You are space remembering itself. So when you look up at the stars, do not see yourself as small. See yourself as rare, as improbable, as precious beyond articulation. You are not beneath the universe. You are woven into its story. You are its witness, its poet, its question. And when the noise of the world fades, when night wraps itself around you and only the stars remain, listen. In the stillness, in the silence, you may hear the soft echo of everything that ever was. And in that echo, your own heartbeat. The inner and outer universe are not rivals. They are reflections. And in both, the miracle continues. What does it mean to be alive in a universe like this? Immense, ancient, uncaring. It means, in part, to live with paradox, to exist as a being of warmth and fragility in a cosmos shaped by indifferent forces, to carry the knowledge of your own impermanence alongside the capacity for joy. It means to navigate a life filled with tiny, tender details, birdsong, the smell of rain, the sound of a loved one's voice, while knowing that one day all these things will vanish. And yet, instead of falling into despair, to meet this knowledge with gratitude. That is the art of living as a conscious creature in a temporary world. To be human is to be the meeting point of two infinities, the infinity of space beyond and the infinity of thought within. Your mind can imagine galaxies, summon memories, rehearse futures that have not happened. And all of this takes place in a few pounds of biological tissue born from stardust, soaked in the gravity of Earth, shaped by forces older than the continents. You are not outside nature. You are not its exception. You are its flowering, its fire. And though we often speak of our intelligence and our awareness as tools for control, for shaping the world, for overcoming the constraints of nature, the truth is deeper. These faculties are not merely instruments of power. They are vessels of communion. Through them, we glimpse not just how the world works, but how it feels. We feel the pain of others. We see beauty where there is no utility. We recognize dignity even in things we cannot understand. These are not evolutionary byproducts. They are windows into the sacredness of being. Even now, with all our technologies and philosophies, we are barely beginning to understand what it means to be conscious, to have a self, to be a thread in the weave of time. And yet, what little we do know points towards something extraordinary. That awareness, however it emerges, allows the universe to become more than mechanism. It allows the universe to see, to reflect, to care. And in this moment, this brief flicker between the nothing before and the nothing after, you have the chance to feel it, to look at the sky and not just calculate angles and brightness, but to feel awe, to wake in the night and not just survive, but to wonder, to sit in stillness and realize that you are the rarest thing the universe has ever made, not because you are powerful, but because you can imagine and because you can love. There will come a time when none of this remains, when our sun will be gone, when our species may be a footnote or forgotten entirely, when the atoms that once sang through your nervous system will be scattered again into the dust. And yet, none of that undoes the meaning of this moment. None of it erases the miracle of now. For in the end, to live is to burn briefly and beautifully, to be the flame in the cold, to be the question in the silence, to be the light, however faint, in the vast dark. And that, perhaps, is all the universe ever needed us to be. Time is the quiet master of the universe. It flows forward without hesitation, without memory, without intention. It shapes all things, not through force, but through inevitability. Stars are born, live, and die under its guidance. Mountains rise and fall. Species emerge, flourish, and vanish. And through all of this, time moves unbothered, a river with no mouth, a song with no refrain. For us, though, time is not indifferent. It is intimate. It moves through us. It forms the architecture of our lives. Every heartbeat is a rhythm kept in time. Every thought, a fragment of temporal awareness. We remember the past, anticipate the future, and experience the now, an elusive, ever-changing edge where what was meets what is becoming. And yet, for all its familiarity, time remains deeply mysterious. What is it, truly? A dimension, a construct, a consequence of motion. We measure it with clocks and calendars, but these are merely tools, artifacts that reflect our need to tame the infinite. The universe has no ticking clock, no sunrise or sunset. The passage of time is encoded in entropy, in the direction of disorder. A hot cup of tea cools, a sandcastle crumbles, a life moves from infancy to old age. This is time's arrow, and it points only one way, not because time itself prefers direction, but because the universe does. In the earliest moments after the Big Bang, time itself was born, or more precisely, what we understand as time began. Before that moment, our theories fall silent. There was no before, because before is a temporal word, and time itself had not yet begun to flow. In that initial instant, time was tangled with space, folded into a dense, hot singularity where the laws of physics break down, and then an expansion, a release, a birth. From that moment forward, time has expanded alongside space, weaving itself into the fabric of the cosmos. Every galaxy that drifts away, every star that collapses into a black hole, every atom that decays is a verse in time's unfolding poem. And we, in our brief lives, are readers of this poem. We live not in the infinity of space, but in the linearity of time. We are carried forward from cradle to grave by time's current. We measure our existence in years, in seasons, in sunrises. We count birthdays, anniversaries, losses. We watch loved ones grow older, children become parents, and moments fade into memory. Time gives our lives structure, but it also gives them weight. It is the backdrop against which everything matters. Without time, there is no change. Without change, there is no story. And without story, meaning cannot breathe. But if time brings meaning, it also brings sorrow. Every beautiful thing must pass. Every laughter fades into silence. Every hand we hold will one day let go. In this way, time is both blessing and burden. It grants us the chance to experience love, but only by making that love impermanent. It allows us to savor moments, but only because those moments are fleeting. Time sharpens joy by reminding us it will not last. And in this paradox lies one of the great truths of existence. What is precious is not what endures forever, but what shines before it vanishes. And yet, for all its forward motion, time is not just something that happens to us. It is something we create, we remember, we imagine, we tell stories. These are acts of temporal defiance. Through memory, we visit the past. Through imagination, we rehearse the future. Through story, we transcend both, weaving together cause and effect. hope, and history. Our entire experience of the world, of identity, of purpose, of love, is stitched together in time. It is not just the backdrop of our lives. It is our canvas, our melody, our breath. Consider this. When you think about who you are, you do not describe a single moment. You describe a narrative. You are a sequence, a becoming, a symphony unfolding across years, shaped by the echoes of yesterday and the horizon of tomorrow. And this story, your story, is one with the universe, not separate from it, but composed by the same forces that shaped stars and stretched space. Your life is not an accident of time. It is one of its most delicate creations. We live in time, but we also leave traces within it. Every kindness offered, every truth spoken, every act of beauty becomes a ripple. And these ripples move forward long after we are gone. They shape futures we will never see. They plant seeds in soil we will never walk. In this way, time does not erase. It remembers differently, not with precision, but with influence, not with facts, but with echoes. So let us walk gently through this river of hours. Let us savor the brief light of our days and cherish those we walk beside. Let us remember that time is not our enemy, but our canvas, that it asks not for speed, but for presence, that the miracle is not in outrunning it, but in living within it, fully, honestly, beautifully. And when the stars above seem silent and the years feel heavy, let us pause and remember, we are time, made aware of itself. We are not separate from the flow. We are its music, its dancers, its witnesses. For now, the river flows, and we are carried by it, not just toward the end, but through the middle, through the story, through the moment that is now. Time is not merely the ticking of seconds, it is the unfolding of experience. And though it flows in one direction, it touches every corner of our lives, shaping how we love, how we grieve, how we hope. We do not live in the future, nor do we linger in the past. We live always in the present, a thin, vanishing edge of now. And yet, we carry all of time within us. Our memories are constellations of the past, arranged in patterns that define who we believe we are. Our dreams are maps of possible tomorrows, sketched by the imagination. And our presence, fleeting though it is, carries the weight of every yesterday and the whisper of every yet to be. In the deepest moments of silence, you may feel time slow. When you hold someone you love, when you watch the sun set over a quiet sea, when you hear a song that stirs something forgotten, those are the moments when time seems to bend. It is not that time changes, but that you step out of the rush. You dwell in it. You become fully present. And in those moments, the ordinary becomes sacred, not because it lasts forever, but because it doesn't. So much of human sorrow stems from time's insistence on motion. The people we love change. The places we call home evolve or vanish. We say goodbye more often than we realize, not just in death, but in small everyday departures. A child becomes an adult, a friendship grows distant, a season ends. And though we often long to hold things as they were, to freeze the joy or rewind the loss, we cannot. Time does not pause, even for beauty. But that is what gives beauty its shape, its weight, its meaning. And yet, even as it carries everything away, time offers something miraculous in return, the ability to remember. Memory is not perfect. It fades, it alters, it deceives, but it also preserves. It lets us visit with those who are gone. It lets us relive our most tender hours, It allows us to hold hands with a version of ourselves we no longer are. In memory, we are many selves: child, friend, lover, learner. We are not static beings, but flowing stories, pages turning with every heartbeat. Time also gifts us the power to change, to grow, to forgive, to start again. The past cannot be undone, but it can be rewritten, not in fact, but in meaning. We reinterpret. We come to understand differently, and in that reinterpretation lies hope. The hope that no matter how lost we may feel in a given moment, the next moment is still unwritten, that the future is not fixed, but waiting. And what of the end? We all walk toward it, some with fear, some with peace, some without thinking about it at all. Death is not the opposite of time. It is its endpoint for each of us. But within that end lies a paradox. Knowing we will die makes our days more precious, our words more sacred, our time more intentional. And perhaps that is why time is the frame for meaning. It is the one thing we cannot control, and so we must shape what we can within it. To be alive is to dance on the edge of time's blade, to love with the knowledge that love may end, to speak with the knowledge that silence will follow, to create in the face of eventual forgetting, and to do it anyway, not because we are eternal, but because we are not. So take this moment, this now, and let it matter. Let it be filled with kindness. Let it carry the imprint of your presence. Let it shine with your awareness. For though time will carry it away, it will also carry you forward. And in the story of the universe, that is a miracle beyond measure. Time moves forward, always. That much we know. It doesn't pause for beauty, nor yield to sorrow. It carries everything with it. Mountains, rivers, cities, lives, swept into its silent tide. But though time itself is indifferent, what we place within it is not. We give it meaning. We fill it with presence, with care, with love. And in doing so, we begin to carve something deeper than history. We shape legacy. Legacy is not fame. It is not about being remembered by the masses or etched into monuments. It is not confined to statues, headlines, or history books. Real legacy is quieter. It moves through invisible channels. It is the kindness you offered to someone on a hard day, the encouragement you gave that changed the course of a life, the words you spoke that someone else carries in their heart, long after you forgot saying them. Legacy is not about permanence. It's about impact. It's about resonance. A whisper that echoes long after the voice is gone. And time, though it washes away many things, does not erase everything. It preserves what was deeply felt. It magnifies what was genuine. We may not remember every conversation we've had, but we remember how people made us feel. We may forget specific moments, but we hold on to their emotional imprint. A touch, a gaze, a moment of vulnerability shared. These are the things time handles most delicately. They become part of the structure of who we are. We exist not just in our own timeline, but in the timelines of others. In their memories, in their perceptions, in the ripple effect of our actions. You are not a solitary traveler through time. You are a node in a web, a bridge between past and future. The way you live influences those who come after, even in ways you will never see. That's a responsibility, but also a gift. It means your presence matters, not because it's grand, but because it is real. There's a phrase that says we borrow the world from future generations, but perhaps more accurately, we build it for them, brick by brick, choice by choice. The ideas we foster today will shape the questions they ask tomorrow. The compassion we embody will shape the relationships they build. The courage we model will shape the battles they are willing to fight, not for conquest, but for understanding, for equity, for the continued preservation of life in all its forms. In this way, time becomes a shared thread, connecting us to people we will never meet. Consider this: someone, long after you are gone, might read words you wrote or hear a story about your life, or sit beneath a tree you planted and feel something stir. A sense of connection, a glimmer of wisdom, a reassurance that they are not alone. And in that moment, your life, though past, becomes present again, not in body, but in essence. And this is what makes our relationship with time so profound. It is not just about our own journey, but about how we shape the path for others, how we carry forward the gifts of those who came before and leave behind gifts of our own. Gratitude becomes a temporal act, so does hope, so does love. And while we cannot control time, we can shape how we move within it. We can choose to be more present, to pay deeper attention, to be more deliberate with the moments we are given. Time is not just something that happens to us. It is something we experience, something we fill, and the way we fill it defines the rhythm of our lives. Sometimes that rhythm is fast, rushing from task to task, moving quickly, surviving, achieving. But sometimes, if we let it, that rhythm can slow. It can become a breath, a pause, a look across a table, a walk without destination. These are the moments when time stops feeling like an enemy and starts feeling like a companion. Because the truth is, we don't need more time. We need more presence, more awareness, more willingness to let the moment be enough. Not because it will last, but because it is happening. To truly understand time is to let go of trying to capture it. We cannot hold on to it. We cannot reverse it. But we can meet it fully, with open arms and open hearts. We can walk with it rather than race against it. And in that walking, we can find meaning. So let us walk gently. Let us carry our past with reverence and step into our future with intention. Let us offer grace to our former selves and patience to the selves we are still becoming. Let us remember that each second is a threshold, a door to a new becoming, and that no moment, however small, is wasted when it is lived with attention. Because in the end, it is not the years we live that define us, it is the depth with which we live them. It is not the legacy of grand achievements that endures, but the quiet way we leave others feeling seen, heard, and loved. Time will continue its path, as it always has. Galaxies will spin, stars will die, planets will orbit without awareness. But you are aware. You can wonder, you can feel, you can choose. And that, in the great ocean of time, is more powerful than we may ever fully understand. The night sky has always offered a paradox. It is, at once, a source of deep comfort and profound insignificance. We look up and we see permanence, stars that seem unchanging, eternal, quiet. But what we're truly seeing is ancient light, billions of years in the making, traveling immense distances just to meet our eyes. Every star in the sky is a messenger from the past, its light stretching across space and time, telling stories older than language, older than life. And yet, we do not look at the stars passively. We don't just observe them, we relate to them. We give them names, draw constellations, embed them in myths. We tell ourselves that Orion hunts the skies, that the Pleiades are sisters lost in eternal motion, that Venus shines for love. We anchor our deepest feelings to points of light millions of light years away. We've always done this, not to understand the stars themselves, but to understand ourselves. Because in the vastness of the cosmos, we seek not just knowledge, but reflection. And what a vastness it is. The Milky Way, our home galaxy, contains more than 100 billion stars. It stretches over 100,000 light-years across. But the Milky Way is only one among hundreds of billions of galaxies, each with their own sea of stars, their own planets, their own possible stories. To even try to grasp the scale of this is to enter a kind of cognitive vertigo, a dizziness not of fear, but of awe. We are not at the center. We never were. And yet, the more we shrink in space, the more we seem to expand in meaning. It is tempting to feel small in the face of such immensity. And in a physical sense, we are. Our bodies are composed of fragile atoms, huddled together for a blink of cosmic time. Our planet is a dot. Our lives, a whisper. But to feel small is not the same as to be unimportant. Because in this massive universe, we are the few, perhaps the only, who can even perceive its scale. The universe is not vast to a rock. It is not ancient to a cloud of gas. But to us, it is both. And that difference matters. To see scale is to have context. To have context is to feel wonder. And to feel wonder is the beginning of reverence. Not a reverence born of fear or subservience, but one born of love. To love the universe for its mystery, to love the earth for its uniqueness, to love life, not despite its brevity, but because of it. We live at a privileged scale, large enough to manipulate matter, to travel, to connect, small enough to be held by gravity, to feel warmth, to move through the world with grace. We are small enough to be humbled, but large, enough to understand the reason for humility. This scale is not just physical, it is emotional. We feel the weight of large things, grief, joy, anticipation, but we are also moved by the smallest gestures, a glance, a breath, a moment of silence. The universe contains galaxies, yes, but it also contains quiet mornings, first steps, whispered goodnights. These too are part of the cosmos. To recognize that is to bridge the gap between the astronomical and the intimate. To understand that the same laws that govern black holes also govern brainwaves, that the same particles in a distant nebula reside within your lungs. You are not merely in the universe, you are of it, formed by it, carried by its winds, composed of its dust. And what a dust it is! Hydrogen and helium, fused in stars, exploded in supernova, scattered across space, cooled, coalesced, and, eventually, came to breathe. That breath is yours. Every breath you take is part of a lineage of transformations older than Earth itself. Every cell in your body is a museum of cosmic history. You are an archive of the universe. So when the scale overwhelms you, when you feel lost in the size of it all, pause, breathe. Remember that scale is not just a measure of distance. It is a measure of meaning. And there is meaning here, in this moment, in this body, in this awareness. Because to look at the stars and feel awe is to fulfill one of the universe's rarest possibilities. Not every world gets to know the cosmos. Not every world gets to ask, why? We do. And for now, that is everything. When we look outward, truly outward, beyond the light of cities, beyond the pull of routine, we find ourselves immersed in silence. Not a silence of absence, but of presence too grand for words. A silence thick with history, with fire, with motion. That night sky, filled with ancient starlight, is not a ceiling. It is an ocean, and we are not beneath it. We are within it, suspended in its invisible tides, shaped by its unseen currents. Every point of light is a time machine. To look at a star is to see it as it was, years, centuries, even millennia ago. We never see the universe as it is now. We see its ghost, its echo, its shimmering afterimage. And yet, even these echoes awaken something real within us. Not just scientific curiosity, but emotional depth, an ache, a longing, a strange kind of joy. The feeling that even in this immense and ancient cosmos, we belong. Why should this be so? Why should we care about galaxies we will never visit, or stars that have already died? Perhaps because in them, we see something familiar. Not in their form, but in their transformation. Stars are born, live, and die, just like us. Their lives unfold in the language of change, of struggle, of radiance. And in that rhythm, we find a mirror, a metaphor, a truth. And perhaps even more than that, we are drawn to the stars because we suspect, deep down, that they are not looking back at us, that we are the only eyes for light years, maybe for millions of light years, that we are alone in our awareness, not permanently, not certainly, but possibly. And that possibility makes each moment of wonder feel urgent, sacred. We are not the center of the universe, and yet we are a center of perception, a node of knowing, a gathering of molecules that can, for a little while, witness the whole. That can ask questions about beginnings and ends, that can build telescopes to see the birth of time, and write poems about what it feels like to fall in love. This dual capacity, to know and to feel, is what makes us unique. It is what makes the stars beautiful, not merely bright. There are scales within us, just as vast as the distances between galaxies. There are depths of emotion, corridors of memory, cathedrals of imagination. We often treat the inner life as small, as separate from the outer world, but they are of the same material. The same laws that stretch the universe also stretch the soul. The same expansion that pushes galaxies apart also gives rise to wonder, to hope, to the impossible desire to reach across time and be understood. That desire to be understood is one of the most profound expressions of our nature. It's why we write, why we sing, why we trace constellations into myth. We want to be known, not just by others, but by the universe itself. We want our brief lives to be part of something larger, not in scope, but in significance. And maybe they already are. Maybe the act of awareness, of noticing, is itself the universe completing a circuit. The stars do not need us to shine, but perhaps their light gains something when it is seen. Perhaps the vastness gains depth when it is felt. In this way, scale becomes intimacy. The farther we look, the closer we come to the truth of our own hearts. The more immense the universe appears, the more precious this moment becomes. The smallness of our lives does not diminish them. It concentrates them. It sharpens their beauty. It makes every connection more meaningful, every act of kindness more powerful, every shared silence more resonant. Because we are not just drifting through space, we are building meaning from it. We are turning the cold beauty of the cosmos into warmth, into story, into music. And even if the universe never notices us, even if we are truly alone, our noticing of it changes everything. We are the universe looking back at itself. And for now, we remember. For all that we have learned, for all the telescopes launched, particles collided, theories proven, we still know so little. The Big Bang gave us a beginning, but not a reason. The universe expands, but into what? Time flows, but why forward? There is dark matter we cannot see, dark energy we cannot measure, and within it all, something deeper. Still, the unknown. And perhaps more important than all our answers is the realization that we are allowed to live inside the questions. Not every mystery is meant to be solved. Some are meant to be sat with like an old friend. Some are meant to humble us, to remind us that certainty is not the highest form of knowledge. Wonder is. Curiosity is. The ability to stand before the infinite and not demand clarity, but offer attention. In our modern lives, so much is rushed. We want to master, to explain, to define. But the universe is not a formula to memorize. It is a story to participate in, a song we can hear but not fully sing. To live within it is to engage not just with facts, but with mystery. And in that mystery lies something tender, something sacred. It is okay not to know. It is okay to marvel. It is okay to lie beneath the stars and feel small, not as a defeat, but as a kind of freedom. Because when you surrender the illusion of control, what's left is openness. You begin to notice what you never saw before, the subtlety of a breeze, the miracle of breath, the unlikely grace of being. And in this openness, a new kind of peace arises, not the peace of certainty, but the peace of belonging, of realizing you do not need to dominate the universe to be part of it. You do not need to understand everything to live meaningfully within it. Your worth is not in your answers. It is in your being. There is a profound comfort in knowing that the same forces that spin galaxies also shaped your hands, that the atoms in your bones once belonged to stars, that whatever you face, joy, loss, doubt, beauty, it is all part of the same unfolding. You are not apart from nature. You are its conscious bloom. This does not mean life is easy. It means it is real. It means your struggles are not small. They are echoes of a deeper tension, order and chaos, creation and dissolution, gravity and light. Every heartbreak, every triumph, every silence you endure is a thread in the grand weave of what it means to be alive in a changing universe. And when we acknowledge that we will never fully comprehend the whole, that no theory, no equation, no map can ever encompass the fullness of what is, we are not left with emptiness. We are left with awe. And awe is not passive. It is an active state of reverence, of deep listening, of humility without despair. Because in that humility, we see each other differently. We understand that every person we meet is also wrapped in mystery, that their thoughts, their feelings, their story are as deep and ungraspable as the cosmos itself. And so we soften, we extend grace. We recognize that, in the face of the unknown, kindness is wisdom. And perhaps this is the quiet message of the Big Bang, not just that we came from something explosive and miraculous, but that we are still unfolding, that we are still becoming, that even as the universe stretches into coldness, we are here, warm, alive, wondering. To live well in the face of the unknown is to befriend it. To see in the dark, not danger, but depth. To let silence speak. To let questions remain open, like doors to rooms we may never enter, but which nonetheless shape our home. And so we walk forward, not in certainty, but in presence. Not seeking to conquer the stars, but to listen to them. Not trying to escape the dark, but to light a candle within it. The universe began in mystery, and mystery remains its truest language. There is something profoundly human in the desire to know. From the moment we begin to speak, we ask, why? We point at stars and oceans and each other, and we ask for explanations, for origins, for meaning. We build tools, instruments, philosophies. We turn over stones, dig into memory, launch satellites into orbit, not just for utility, but because somewhere deep within us, we cannot bear not knowing. We want to make sense of the world, to turn chaos into story. And in many ways, this desire has led us to extraordinary things: scientific discoveries, art, medicine, music, language, love. It is the engine behind civilizations, behind revolutions, behind empathy. But the further we reach, the more we discover that the unknown does not shrink. It expands. The edge of what we know is not a boundary. It is a horizon. And every time we approach it, the horizon recedes. The more deeply we study matter, the more elusive it becomes. Quantum uncertainties, wave-particle dualities, the impossible logic of entanglement. The more deeply we explore the cosmos, the more we are confounded. Dark energy, unobservable dimensions, an inflationary beginning that defies classical time. At every level, mystery persists, not as a failure of understanding, but as a feature of reality itself. And so we face a choice. Do we fight the unknown, or do we befriend it? To befriend the unknown is not to abandon inquiry. It is not to surrender curiosity. On the contrary, it is to live more fully in the spirit of inquiry, to ask, not with the desperation for closure, but with reverence. To wonder, not as a means to an end, but as an end in itself. To feel the question without needing the answer. To recognize that perhaps the most profound experiences we will ever have are not those of certainty, but those of awe. Think of the feeling of standing at the edge of the ocean at night. The water stretches out, endless and unknowable. The stars reflect on its surface. The waves move without your permission. You do not understand all of it. You cannot. And yet, you are moved. You feel something primal, something sacred. You feel the mystery not as a threat, but as a comfort. It envelops you. It reminds you that there are truths beyond language, that not everything must be named to be known. The same is true of life. We do not fully understand how consciousness arises. We do not know why some moments change us. We do not always know why we fall in love, or why grief can feel like a storm in the chest. We do not always know what to do, or how to let go, or what comes after death. And still, we live. Still, we move forward, one breath at a time. Still, we gather meaning not in certainty, but in the act of being present. To dwell in mystery is to choose depth over control. It is to sit in silence and let it teach you. It is to walk through a forest and not name every tree, but feel their ancient stillness. It is to look at a newborn and not pretend to understand what life is, but to hold it gently with awe. It is to love without needing to possess, to pray without demanding answers, to witness without claiming authority. Mystery is not the absence of meaning, it is the birthplace of it. And the most beautiful things we experience, art, music, connection, are not things we understand fully. They are things we feel, things we meet with our whole being, things that open us. In the same way, mystery opens the universe. It does not close it. It does not make it cold or distant. It invites us to step beyond the edges of ego and into the vastness of wonder. To live not as masters of the world, but as participants in its ongoing creation. And this participation requires trust, a kind of spiritual humility, a willingness to say, I don't know, but I'm here, a willingness to move through the world as a guest, not an owner. A traveler, not a conqueror. A poet, not a prosecutor. What if the mystery is not something to be solved, but something to be loved? What if the Big Bang is not just a scientific event, but a metaphor for every new beginning? What if the expansion of the universe is mirrored in our expanding capacity for compassion? What if the silence of the cosmos is not empty, but waiting? What if your life, right now, is one of the ways the mystery is expressing itself? You were not given all the answers, but you were given awareness. You were given a body, a heart, a mind. You were given sunrise and snowfall. You were given laughter and tears and music. You were given the ability to wonder, to reach across time and say to another being, "You are not alone." These are gifts, and they are enough. Because even as galaxies spin and entropy unfolds, even as light bends and time stretches, you are here. You are listening. You are breathing. You are aware, and that awareness, quiet, fleeting, imperfect, is a miracle that defies measurement. So do not fear the unknown. It is where all beauty begins. It is where all transformation is born. It is where the stars themselves first took shape, and where your story continues to unfold. Let the mystery be not your enemy, but your companion. Let it walk beside you in your questions, your dreams, your love, and know in your quiet moments that you are part of something vast, not just in size, but in soul. You are not lost in the mystery. You are held by it. We began with fire, with a spark older than time as we know it. The Big Bang was not an explosion in space, but the birth of space itself, the unfolding of energy and possibility, the emergence of time, motion, and memory. From that moment, everything that is was set into motion, and from that same fire, we came. The story of the universe is not one of stillness, but of becoming, a journey from simplicity to complexity, from heat to structure, from chaos to galaxies, stars, planets, and, eventually, life. It is the story of carbon chains forming in ancient oceans, of cells dividing, of creatures evolving. It is the story of a single species that looked up at the night sky and felt something stir. A question, a longing, a flame. That flame burns still, not in the stars, but in you. Because though we are made of matter, we are not just matter. We are experience. We are memory. We are hope. We are the voice that says, "This matters." We are the hands that reach out in the dark, the minds that imagine what could be, the hearts that break open and still love again. And in this, we are the continuation of the Big Bang, not just in body, but in spirit. We carry its energy, yes, but we also carry its unfolding, its wonder, its urge toward creation. Every thought you've ever had was made possible by that first burst of time and light. Every dream you've ever dreamed was shaped by gravity and stardust. To know this is not to feel small. It is to feel connected, woven into something vast, yes, but also deeply alive. Because the universe is not just out there. It is in here, in every breath, in every step, in every choice to create beauty despite sorrow, to offer kindness despite pain, to wonder even when you don't understand. And maybe that's the final gift the Big Bang offers us. Not a map, but a posture. Not answers, but awe. Not a reason for existence, but an invitation to live meaningfully within it. To know that your life is a once-only flare of consciousness in a cosmos of possibility. To know that no moment lasts forever, and therefore every moment matters more. To know that while you are here, you can be a vessel for light. And so, wherever you are, in this moment, let yourself rest in that knowing. Let the noise fall away. Let the rush slow. Let the questions soften. You are part of something ancient, something vast, something beautiful. And that something is still unfolding, still creating, still reaching toward tomorrow. Carry that light with you. Even as the stars burn and fade, even as galaxies drift apart, even as time itself bends towards silence, carry it forward. You are stardust. You are story. You are the universe, awake and aware just for this fleeting, radiant moment. And that is enough.